So I'm Neeta Kumar, and I grew up in many parts, different cities of North India, because my father was a government servant. He was in the police force, and as an officer, he got transferred from place to place. So we always moved, and every 2 or 3 years, I changed my school and learned about a different city and its people. And my schooling, of course, I shifted from school to school, but my schooling was always in the best school in whichever place we were at. That makes a big difference, and all that I realized only later. First, I built my own professional career, so I got trained as a historian and an anthropologist. But I remember there was a time, maybe when I was just about 40 years old, and my husband, who's a little bit older than me, and we just sat and we talked through the night. So my husband grew up in relative poverty, insecurity. He learned music as a child, and he of course got a degree, a PhD in economics. But his life was a quiet life of struggle. And we argued and discussed, and we said, are we just going to write about all these things? Because when you do the research, you find out the problem. I had done a whole research project on schooling and education, and the problem was very clear to me. So am I just going to write about it? And he likewise, he was also a professor. Or are we going to do something concrete for the people that we are studying? And through the night, talking, day break came and we said we have to start a school. All Bengalis, they act, they draw, they paint, they write poetry, they write novels, they speak. They're just, they love the arts and they do everything. So my husband was like that, played many instruments, wrote a novel, could recite poetry, loved the arts, knew mythology, wanted to teach children theatre. But all that was very good for someone who was going to start a school.
I was there when things were being invented, or being imagined or being built. I mean, we whitewashed the school, or we built the road, and we broke the rocks, and we cleaned up the, we did all the work of what it takes to create something.
So once we had decided that we have to have a school, then 100 questions popped up.
In my memory, that sound of their voice, waking up to the sound of their voices was, I really loved it. I just really loved the thought of them sitting there talking to each other. And I think really, that was also very much the spirit of the school, people engaging with each other, talking to each other, having discussions, trying things out, and not being afraid to experiment and to try and to engage.
But you need so many things for a school. It was endless. We were just working day and night, figuring out everything because we were very serious, very attuned to detail. So I often say there are actually just two problems with education in India. One is that it's totally differentiated according to rich and poor. So rich people have really good schools. And when you meet an educated Indian, you say, wow, this person speaks English so fluently and they know this, that and the other. And they go out somewhere, they compete globally. They're very well educated. And people think it's because of the educational system. It's not the system at all. It's that individual school that person went to. Because the same country has really bad schools, poor schools for the poor.
At the very core of that, we have an integrated school where children from all backgrounds come. Children from literally the poorest of the poor to very well-off middle class, upper middle class families. And how those children can learn together and truly become equals in life is sort of essential to our curriculum.
The second one is that the quality of teaching and of teaching methods is still very backward in India. This is simply amazing. Ever since I came to Banaras, I have absolutely loved and adored all this example of the creativity and imagination of human beings. Why should the schooling and the education of children be so dry and boring and barren of imagination and creativity? We have it all around us in India. Why can't we harness some of these riches into the curriculum that's made for children? And we work on that to make more curriculum materials, both inside the classroom but also for children outside. So we have written storybooks to promote fiction for children, and we've worked on music for children, dance and theatre for children. We have produced plays for children, scripts for children. We just want to make the lives of children much richer and happier inside the classroom and outside. We want to work for children and childhood in India. There were people who came initially as parents, and they were like wonderful people, old educators and intellectuals of Banaras. They all joined us, service people, business people. They could all somehow sense that this new thing that we were starting was very potentially rich and just what the city needed. At that time, there was no progressive child-centered school at all in Banaras.
I got married in '85 and I came over to Varanasi. And when my first child was born and he was of school-going age, I was looking for a good school.
I was one of the first teachers at Southpoint Vidyashram. I had the great good fortune of working with Shom when he was the director, the first year of the school.
Well, I was introduced to Banaras many years back when I came here as a young parent, and we were looking for schools for our children.
It was my good luck that I met Mr. Majumdar and Nita. They floated this idea of this school to me, and they had just begun the school. They invited me to a music program in the school in the evening, and I fell in love with the place there and then. And I wanted my children to be associated. I wanted myself to be associated with such a place.
One of the greatest pleasures I've had in this experience is to watch kids who were my students become teachers and directors of the school like they got.
Usually in small towns in India, it's not easy to find schools that are outside of the normal standard of rote learning schools. And we were looking for a school that was not based on rote learning, but based on a student-centered philosophy of inquiry, and gave space to children's voices, and also looked at the diversification of educational approaches depending more on, let's say, the child's response to it, and not forcing responses. So I was very passionate about education, and especially educating children more in the sense of what education means, the Latin word educere, which means to bring out from the children what they really are.
I think very highly of Mr. Majumdar and his vision of starting this school here. He wanted everybody to be at their best, and at the same time he wanted a lot of freedom, a lot of originality, bringing out the talent in the children.
I trained myself as an educator. That's not what my degree was in. But I read tons of books on education, sociology, philosophy, history, just kept working on all this. And simultaneously was the practice of it. So even though we had only about 20 children in the beginning, we had to teach them. So there were 5 or 6 classes, and I used to teach in different classes, learning, observing, reading, researching, doing, reflecting. It was a very good first 2, 3, 4, 5 years for us. So I discovered that they were brilliant educators, as we all know, but I read them in depth. I found out their philosophy, and there's no way you can do better than them. So if you read their books and articles, all the answers are already there. What's not there is our implementation of them.
My name is Priya, and I belong to the south part of India. Well, I did not come from an education background. I studied psychology in my college. When I came to Vidyashram, the first thing that impressed me was that it was very centered on the child. the environment was so conducive for the growth of the child. So a lot of effort was made to make the child happy and to make the child learn at its own pace, and it talked about holistic development of a child.
In India, people don't really see the child and understand the child and really know what the child needs. That's really what we've been working for, like for what is childhood, what should children have, what are their rights, and how can we educate people and provide that space for children. But through providing that space, teachers, parents, families, and society would really start to understand that.
A lot of independence was given to teachers. When I joined long back, I realized that there was a lot of scope for me to make errors, to do things my own way. Initially, I did not understand many things, so I used to bring all my thoughts from my old school. So, but there was a continuous, support from the organization.
South Point was my first school. Around when South Point started, I started going to school. From what I remember of my first few years in South Point was the playfulness of the place. I've realized today what it was then, and it felt like a space, safe space for people to just be who they were. South Point allowed that space of just not necessarily judging you, evaluating you on specific parameters that were put from institutions, that you could yourself figure out a little bit more.
I think children studying in such schools have the ability to critically think and analyze. They cultivate the ability to resolve problems and think out of the box. I think they also learn better how to work with groups and as a team. I think also they learn to express themselves, which often is shut down in normal schools, where if you think and speak of something that's over and beyond a curriculum, it's not really encouraged because there is no time for it.
And the notion of not just laying all the material, just sort of laying it on the kids, but to invite the kids to find their own energy and passion in the learning, and to have some ownership of the learning and some agency in the learning. And that was very impressive.
One had to keep doing more and more and more things because they didn't exist. You don't have a culture of the classroom, well, show the culture of the classroom. You don't have a curriculum, make the curriculum. You don't have the resources, then make the resources. You don't have trained teachers, so work with the teachers, Parents don't understand about childhood, so have workshops to teach them about childhood, yeah. So back in the 1990s, it was Shom Majumdar's dream to buy some land near the river and to start a riverside campus, which would be more like an ashram. That means a place where all kinds of people would be doing all kinds of work, from ecological work and farming to animal rearing and education, the arts and so on, and simply be able to live there peacefully and work on their own projects.
When I was a child, we used to come to the village and walk around, probably when he was looking for land. And we used to, at that time there was no roads and all, we used to just walk through the fields and have picnics. So this village and all was part of my imagination, and I just assumed we would be here one day.
And he started the process of building it up, and then unfortunately he passed away, but his dream stays with us. And I keep thinking about what he'd have liked, what he wanted, and how he talked about it. So everyone thinks they've become modern because of consumerism, and they don't realize that what you need is citizenship values. That's what modernity is. There's no sidewalk, there's no park, there's nothing for children anywhere around in the city or outside.
My mind is comparing and juggling all the time because I was taught in a different way, and now I'm unlearning those patterns, but some of them are already in the subconscious mind, and sometimes I act that way. But this kind of pedagogy now and my own interest in it helps me to reflect all the time. Like I'm going to and fro. If I'm doing something, then I reflect on it.
You can just express your feeling by writing, because something like your mind is like very stressed. So you can just, if you can't express to anybody else, you can just write it down and you can read and laugh at yourself.
I think that what the school really fostered in me as a student was this spirit of exploring in any possible way.
So we did a lot of theaters also. So we did a play in theater. It was on like Shakespeare's play, like Merchant of Venice. So we dubbed like every character and we performed in like many schools. So that was great. Like studying there, doing theater.
For students, we want to impart them all the 21st century skills that they should have. So of course, English is really important. It's a global language. So we started from preschool years only. And we tell the parents also that for us, both Hindi, their mother tongue, and English are equally important, and we will continue doing it.
Like my father is educated till 10 and my mother till 8, but their children are doing more than that. I'm very proud of myself and from my mother and father that they gave us opportunity to do more and more in our life.
My father was my science teacher, so we spent, I think, many days, a few hours every day, sitting outside at our desks and just taking measurements over a few hours, watching the sun and how the shadow moved, and so we would just every day sit there for maybe 2-3 hours a day and measured the change of the shadow, and then after a week or two, then we kind of collated those results and did something. So we didn't follow this very strict routine of 1 hour, 40-minute classes and then I have to do something else. If that experiment needed 2-3 hours in a day, his idea was to make us think, basically what is it to experiment, what is it to really think, and push us to do that. A lot of times, grown-up children, including myself, when we talk about our school days, we say we played a lot. That play is a very special, curated, conscious play, where adults have really planned and structured a day, planned the curriculum, planned the hidden curriculum as we call it, apart from subjects, what the children do, how they experience the whole space, their relationships with adults and other children. All the current research talks about how play is an essential component of learning. I mean, that is the fundamental basis for learning. And I want to connect it to what we were trying to do is to create leaders, to create agents of change, in the world.
My children, I can see, I thank my stars that they went to such a school. They are original thinkers. They are not followers. They want to do things in their own way.
One of the epiphanies I had was that as an anthropologist, I studied rituals, and we see how powerful rituals are. But they are all created by someone. They don't exist naturally. So I decided to be so thoughtful and so give so much attention to the detail of how to create rituals.
Good morning, Rudransh. Good morning, Anu. Good morning.
At that time, the way of education they were having was very different from other schools we had in Varanasi. Other schools were usually practicing traditional education, like the Western education, and this school was more focused in personality development along with the education. When I got admitted in this school at that year, I think I had only 7 or 8 classmates at that time, and the school from which I came from was having approx 500 students in a class.
I really like the idea of open classrooms, and I restructured my classroom and the classrooms of the teachers with whom I was working. We created an open classroom structure where children are very free, which means that they make a lot of choices about what they want to do, when they want to do it, how long they want to do it, and different children are working on different things at the same time. Sometimes they choose to not work at all. They really have a lot of agency then, and so they experience this real life thing which they'll have to do all their lives of choosing what they're doing, and how they relate to other people. Using our classroom rules, sets of rituals, which we work on a lot, and teachers training, so that teachers really understand how rituals are created, what are the rituals we believe are important, in our curriculum.
The classrooms at Southpoint really let me do my own educational research, so with with the other teachers that who were teaching the same grades as me, as the same classes as me, we would really collaborate a lot, and we would spend a lot of time talking about the individual children and just observing them.
The children are what I care about, what I work for, what I observe and think about. Maybe it's just his blessings, but it's all actually happening and things are working out. But bit by bit, we kept to it, and somehow, we have acquired the land. We have even made a boundary. We have built a school. We have children. We have buses. We have many of the things that he was so interested in, like farming, animals and foresting. And we have people, whoever comes here loves it. They come to teach, to learn or to interact with us. It's happening. Yeah.